Hey everyone, welcome back to the KeenGamer podcast. I'm your host Tristan. I'm met with Anyka. Anyka, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
Doing well. Ready to talk about video games. Ready for the big week this week because Ratchet and Clank's
Yes.
coming out this weekend, and then we have E3. It's just like it's too much going on. It's just like, can we just kind of spread things out a little bit, make it a little bit more even, not
No,
so
I love it just all
compact?
happening at once in June. And
You like
then
the chaos?
halfway to next year will be Game Awards. So I like the evenness throughout the year.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a
Mhm.
good way of putting it. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, exciting times for absolutely. We have some news stories to talk about though. There's a leaked Tom Clancy game that came out, and then also Capcom. They're facing some issues. They're facing a lawsuit right now, and then also we'll go talk about E3. We'll give our predictions, kind of talk about how it's coming back. It skipped last year. It's back now, so we'll get into all of that. And this will be coming out actually right before E3 on the 10th,
Mm.
and it kicks off the 11th, correct? Through the rest
They
of the
say
weekend.
like 12, but like I feel like some events are on the 11th
It
that
always
aren't
comes
really
a little bit
E3.
early, you know.
Yeah.
So we'll our predictions will be proven right or wrong almost immediately, so that will be
Oh yeah.
fun. But let's get into our first news story. This is kind of interesting. So there's a leaked Tom Clancy game. I have an article pulled up from VGC by Andy Robinson. So this Twitter user, Annika, named Zero Bytes, he showed some images of an internal marketing document. And I think there's also some screenshots of said game too. It's called Black Cat. It's a first-person shooter coming to consoles and PC. It's in the early stages of development, and it combines Splinter Cell, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and the Division games all into like one, crossover Tom Clancy multiplayer game. Each
Wow.
character is going to have their own unique abilities, similar to like a Rainbow Six Siege type of deal. Like that, at least that's how I was kind of reading it. Um, and then we also know that there will be two game modes: escort, which will require attackers to escort a package to a delivery zone, and the vendors must stop them. And then ringleader, where players will be fighting to collect rings from fallen opponents, which is very much like a Call of Duty game mode. I can't remember what it's called, but that's been done before, you know.
Mm.
But what do you think about that leak?
I don't know. I feel like this is better than like another sequel. I don't play like these kind of games,
Mm-hmm.
but it seems like they're it's getting like a unique vibe here where they're meshing together different ideas. And that's all good. I like that.
Yeah, I did see like thing that I saw a lot of people talking about though is people are not happy. Like we're getting another Splinter Cell related thing, but it's not
Mm,
Splinter Cell. Like people have been dying for a new Splinter Cell, and they keep putting characters from those games into other games. Like Sam Fisher's
right.
in Rainbow Six Siege, and like there was some other game that he popped up in, and people are like, can we just get a new Splinter Cell? Like, why are we teasing Splinter Cell and not just diving right into it?
Yeah.
But I think it makes sense because they do like to do their crossovers at Ubisoft. Everything's almost connected in a way, and there's also talk about this being a mobile game because Ubisoft has said they do want to go more into free to play types of games.
Oh
What do you
yeah.
think about that though?
I mean, I guess that's good. I remember the Ubisoft news where they were like, oh, now they're called Ubisoft Originals, and we want like to do like more free to play stuff. And that worries me a little. I don't want it to become too like online-y and stuff, but I think they know what they're doing. I think Ubisoft's been pretty good so far with all of their different IPs.
Yeah, I just think the free to play thing there are great free to play games. Like I
Yeah.
think there's like a stigma against it. Like Rocket League, a game I love, went free to play, and it's
Mm-hmm.
still fantastic. They didn't butcher it because it went free to play or anything. And like a
And
Fortnite,
Apex
it's a
is free and always has been, and it's a great game.
yeah. There's all sorts of there's so many examples of it, but it is a thing where you're like, are they gonna just go for the monetization and
Yeah.
prioritize trying to make money over making good games? Like it does is a little worrying and seeing how it goes, but of course we have to see what do these free to play games look like. If they start putting out some free to play games, it's like, oh, these actually aren't that bad. Like and
Mm-hmm.
they'll figure it out from there. But it is a little bit worrying, and but I think it's interesting to come out with this crossover Tom Clancy game. I'm not the biggest multiplayer guy. When I get
Yeah.
into a multiplayer game, I'm really into it. Like Siege, I'm a huge fan of. Rocket League, I just mentioned. Overwatch,
Hmm.
but that's pretty much it. It's pretty rare for me to get into a multiplayer game, but
Yeah, same here.
I'll keep my mind open about this
Oh
game, you
yeah.
know. And if my friends are really into it too, and like we're all interested, then we can dive into it. But so yeah, we'll see. And they're I know they had some different things like this before, so trying to refine maybe some previous ideas and as they move forward. So we'll
Did they
see.
say this was like proven to be like it's gonna be free? Or is that just
I
speculation?
it's been speculated. Even in the VGC article, they even talk about
Okay.
it because because Ubisoft has said they want to move in that direction, and now that we're
Yeah.
getting this leaked document about this game, people are like, oh, okay, so is this going to be one of these free to play
Mm-hmm.
games, or are they not going to be? It's a little tough to say right now. It's a little too early. The game's in early
Yeah.
development, but I think it definitely has potential, and I think
Mm-hmm.
might as well, if you're gonna go free to play, might as well have it be something so established by being like, hey, here's 3 different IPs that we're all putting
Mm-hmm.
together that's within the Tom Clancy brand. And kind of like anyone who's a fan of Tom Clancy games can go, oh, okay, I like Ghost
Yeah.
Recon, I like Splinter Cell, and I like Division. Okay, I'm gonna go right into that, So I think it's a good way to open the door and kind of ease people into this new direction they're going towards. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see.
Are the new Tom Clancy games still based off of the books? Because that's always been confusing to me.
I have no idea. I
Or
haven't
are
read
they
any
just
of
all
those
new
books.
now? Yeah.
I haven't read any of them, so I have no idea. I
Yeah, I wonder
really
if
doubt
this
it.
game is like a new thing and then they just slap Tom Clancy's name on it. Because
I
that's
think it's
kind of
been like that
weird.
for a while at this point, especially
Oh,
with the more
okay.
multiplayer driven ones like Rainbow Six Siege, for example. It's just like there's no story or anything.
No.
It's literally just competitive online. So I think now it's more of just a brand than
Yeah.
basing it off his books and such. And honestly, there's
Mm.
only so much source material, especially now that since he
Oh,
passed
yeah.
away, a good
Oh.
quite a few years ago now. So there isn't a whole lot I think they can do with that. And especially since they're going for I think this new model, I think that's
Mm-hmm.
probably what they'll do. And they have enough single player stuff anyways with Assassin's Creed and some other
Yeah.
stuff.
And it seems that Twitter account Data Cluster, I'm looking at the tweet in the article. It already says the image was removed because of copyright. So it's telling me it might be right.
Yeah, I know. It's like when the stuff gets taken down, then it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, this is serious.
Yeah, seriously, it's not just like the company's not ignoring it. They're like, oh no, we got to
Yeah.
take this down. But let's get to our next news story. So, Capcom is facing a $12 million lawsuit. Also, actually, same website, VGC,
Mm-hmm.
from Andy Robinson. He's killing it with this news reporting. So, on June 4th, which was a Friday, designer Judy A. Jurassic, I think is how you pronounce her last name. She filed a lawsuit against Capcom, claiming that they used photos from her book called Surfaces, which was published back in 1996, which is a collection over 1,200 photographs of textures that were
Mm.
taken by her. According to the book's description, it's used for visual research, is what it's what it's doing for, and so she requires the companies to license images that if they're going to use it for commercial use. And allegedly, Capcom did not do this. The lawsuit includes over 80 images in the suit, and then it also includes the logo of Resident Evil 4 actually as a part of this.
Oh,
And
wow.
in total, the documents point out more than 200 instances of her photographs being used in Capcom games. At least one of the images contained uh, actually one of the images that it was seen in, you remember the Capcom data breach that happened like a little bit ago. So within
Don't
that there
remember
was
that.
the same file name of one of the photographs that she used for the
Oh,
CD version
no.
of the book was the same thing on Capcom's like servers or whatever.
Yeah, that's
Big
not good.
yikes
You better
there.
pay this girl.
rookie mistake there. So the
Yeah.
lawyers are asking her to award her with $12 million in damages.
12
Also,
million. Wow. Okay.
yeah, apparently this book's a big deal if it's going to be 12 million. But I guess I think that makes sense because the games, they're big games that have sold,
Oh yeah.
made millions of dollars and stuff like that. So that makes
And if
sense.
they've been doing it since Resident Evil 4,
Yeah,
I feel bad
big
for her.
yikes. And
Yeah.
Anika, there's more. Further outside of the $12 million, because
Oh
why not
Lord.
go for more?
Yeah.
So it's they'll also be collecting $2,500 to $25,000 for each photo used for false copyright management and removal of copyright management. This also isn't the first time they've gotten into hot water about plagiarism, because if you
Yeah.
remember earlier, like what was it, like a month or two ago, something like that, they got in trouble because a Dutch filmmaker was claiming that they plagiarized his films in
Oh
Resident Evil
yeah.
Village. That came out like within like a few weeks of Village releasing.
Yeah.
Uh, so not been a few weeks for them. What do you think about that
No.
story?
I mean, it just seems like this all could have been avoided if they would have just actually gone to the woman and paid her for the copyright she deserves. It's just surprising that they would do this, I guess, but that's a lot of money. I
Yeah,
don't know
and
how it gets to that.
I don't know how much she requires them to pay for to use them. I can't imagine it's like that much,
Yeah.
especially when you're comparing like, oh, now we have to pay her. We potentially will be paying her $12 million, over $12 million. Um,
Yeah.
it's just like, man, that's such a blow, and I can't imagine how that even went through. Like, who at Capcom, I imagine, had to be with leadership. I
Yeah.
imagine, because usually with video game industry, usually leadership who's to blame, or
Mhm.
most industries in general. But yeah, I just can't imagine how that went through, especially all these years. Um,
Yeah.
and also, I wonder how it got brought to her attention. Like, I doubt she's like, oh, cool, Resident Evil Village. I can't wait to play this game.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, this looks familiar. Like, I doubt
Yeah.
she's like playing these games, or else she would have caught it with Resident Evil 4. Or if it's like I don't know, a nephew or a
It
sibling
seems
or
like it was
whoever.
sparked by Resident Evil 8, but
Yeah.
I mean, maybe she knew about the Resident Evil 4 usage.
Yeah, and then some of this stuff
Mhm.
takes a while to get brought up too. So maybe
Yeah.
she didn't have the funds for a lawyer, or maybe I don't know, maybe there was some legal stuff going on that we didn't know about. Maybe she was talking to them, trying to get them to do something about it, and they didn't. So now she resorts to lawsuit. Of course, we don't all know all the behind the scenes stuff, but yeah, it's just really painful, especially when you add the story about the Dutch filmmaker too. And
Mhm.
it's just like, man, I'm gonna side with her, because it sounds like they really did this. Especially when there's an actual file from the
Oh
data
yeah.
breach that kind of
I'm looking
proves
at
it.
the photos. They are quite exact.
Yeah,
All of them.
that is quite painful. Hopefully, the legal proceedings, whether she's proven right or wrong or whatever, but hopefully the best outcome comes out about this whole
Yeah.
situation. It really does seem like they really did steal her work, so hopefully she can get some cash out of this, whether it's 12 million or less. Typically they try and they will end up getting less, but
Mm.
still, hopefully she gets something out of this whole ordeal, because that
Yeah.
sucks,
And I
going through
hope
that.
Capcom learns from this. Whoever was in control of this idea, pay people for when you
Yeah,
use their work.
it's
Credit
it's pretty
artists.
simple, or else it's become way more expensive you when you go to court. It's
Oh yeah.
that's painful, and I read that story and I just couldn't believe it, because
Yeah.
I immediately thought of the Dutch filmmaker thing. I'm like, another case of plagiarism, really, Capcom? What are you
Yeah.
doing?
Is it because they're not based in like North America and they just they had to have known what they were doing wasn't the right
They
thing.
had to. There's no way you could do that and not know what you're doing.
Yeah. You think they'd have enough money to pay her for it, but I guess they're paying for their mistakes now.
Yeah, but consequences, yeah, you
Yep.
gotta face them now. But
Yep.
Annika, are you ready for E3? Because I'm ready for
Yes,
E3.
I'm so excited.
But before, I think something before we get really into the meat of it, there was a conversation happening last year because when if you remember like it was kind of dramatic when COVID was really hitting and everyone's like,
Yeah.
okay, what are we gonna do about all these events like E3 and stuff like that, and then E3 not only got canceled, but then there's the drama with Jeff Keighley being like, I'm out, and everyone's like, wait,
Mm-hmm.
they're breaking up. What happened? It's just like it's like that couple you always thought they would be together, and then they break up, and you go, oh, no, not them,
Yeah.
and it's just like it was. People were like, "Whoa, was Jeff Keighley really?" And so and then that kind of started. I saw a lot of conversation from people in the media and the industry just being like, is E3 dead? Like that was a big
Mm.
thing, but it's coming back. We'll see how how it performs, especially still since it's going digital. But I'm just curious, like, what do you think about that? Like, what do you think about E3's importance, and do you think it coming back is like what's your take on that?
I think the formula that E3 started with is dead and should be dead. I mean,
Mhm.
that started for like what people, investors, whatever, to actually go, not for the public. It wasn't a big thing. And
Yeah,
then
an industry
over
thing.
the years, yeah, it was an industry thing. And I think that's gone because I don't think we need that anymore. There's the internet now, and it's like easier than ever to support games and stuff. But I think E3 now should focus on, I don't even know if they should go back in person. I mean, I have always dreamed of like going down to the States to go to an E3 show and be there live, but I think it's slowly dying. And I think the problem is it's a lot more work for the developers. And I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about how expensive it is just to rent a booth. It costs sometimes thousands to hundreds of thousands. And I could not believe that. And I think now that there's no booths and it's just online, so many more games and developers can now like be in the spotlight. And I mean, apart from like getting your hands on experience with a game, maybe there, I think E3, maybe after COVID ends, they might actually just stay online. I don't know.
I think well one, yeah, it's super expensive. Which I already knew that just as you can just think about Comic-Con or any other convention.
Oh,
If you want
yeah.
a booth at any of those conventions, it's a lot of money. And yeah, E3, same thing. It's very expensive. That's I think it's one factor into probably why Devolver Digital has their booth in the parking lot, but also it's
Yeah.
Devolver Digital. They're like the meme of the video game industry.
And
They
like
always
EA kind of parted and has their own EA Play now.
Yeah, I think that's probably a factor in why people have split up and been like, let's just do our own thing. We're just gonna save a ton of money, but also
Yeah.
it's like it's a ton of work for the developers. Like you just like they have to crunch really hard to put out like a trailer or a demo or whatever they're gonna
Yeah.
show, and then it's a lot of stress and like I remember Jason Schreier, I think he tweeted this or something like that. I don't remember where he said this, but he basically said he like went to like a restaurant or a bar or something like that during E3, and like it was just filled with developers who were just having anxiety attacks about like having to
Oh,
show their game. It's a lot of
to
stress, and
live
it's
audiences. Yeah.
yeah, and it can be really brutal and it can be really tense. Obviously it can be very rewarding. We've seen developers like get cheered and whatnot, and then like be like, oh my god, I can't believe it. Like they have this awestruck
Mm.
moment, which is wonderful. But I don't know if like there's definitely positives to having a physical show. People get their hands on the game, meet people and stuff like that. Great for networking for sure. But it's kind of proven that Summer Game Fest, you could critique it all you want, but I think it really proved that hey, you can do this whole thing online, especially without E3,
Mm-hmm.
and Jeff Keighley was able to really take that off and be like, hey, no E3. Pretty much all eyes are on him. Like sure there were other events and stuff like that, but his was the core thing that went through
The
almost all the
Summer Game
summer.
Fest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then people are like, oh, this totally works. And now E3 is like trying to figure it out. And I heard so many people trying to like getting headaches trying to get into E3, like people in the media and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
people, I saw so many conversations about that of trying to get, their pass for it. And like I don't think the ESA were necessarily completely ready to go
Mm-hmm.
online. Like there was this, it's a little rough around the edges, at least on the media side before E3, just trying to get passes and trying to get involved and
Yeah.
whatnot. So we'll see how the actual show goes. But right now it seems like it's a little rough around the edges. But I
I,
like
I
E3
don't
though.
think
Like,
it's like all about signing up for E3. I think E3, I think of the whole month almost,
yeah,
or just those couple weeks. And I don't care if, like, I just consider E3 if something is happening around the time. And I think more developers are doing that because I did that article on all the kind of E3 directs or all the different presentations going on. There are so many. And they're
yeah.
all just named different things now. They're all kind of following Nintendo with their Nintendo Direct and doing their own thing.
Yeah. The direct this and that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a bunch of different labels and whatnot. But I do like E3. Like it's just like it's been around so long, and it's like it almost gives me like nostalgia of like
Oh
being like
yeah.
excited for E3. Now I feel like I when I say I'm excited for E3, I feel like I'm more excited for the season of like just
Yeah. Yeah.
showcases and stuff like that. Um, I do think
I
though
think it
because
really bummed me out. Sorry, just
okay, go
when
ahead.
Sony pulled out. I think that's when I started to get like, oh, now E3 is really dying. And I just hope Sony does something. I just want to hear
Yeah.
from them.
Yeah, I like the like how it's all one place, just have all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then when you spread it out, it goes I think it gets a little thin. Like
Mm.
Ubisoft's doing like quarterly showcases, which I think when you do that, then it almost makes it one not as special, and two potential to have it where there's nothing really to show. Like there'll
Yeah.
be times last year during the whole summer of constant showcases, whether that was IGN's thing, Jeff Keighley's thing,
Mm-hmm.
or someone else's thing, whatever it was. But there were so many times where it's like, being in the media, being like, okay, I'm gonna tune in for this, and then nothing really newsworthy happens, and you go, cool, I just
Yeah.
wasted some of my time preparing for this. But at E3, because it's such a big show, it means you have to make a splash, and sure that puts on a lot of pressure for developers and stuff like that, but also at least for our side, it makes it worthwhile. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people are like, oh, we have to do a showcase. Let's put some filler in or whatever. But it's like, when it's like, no, it's E3, you go, oh, I need to step it up. And that makes it worth everyone's time.
Oh
So I
yeah.
think that's a major part of E3's importance. And I think as other showcases start to kind of get a handle on it takes a while. E3 wasn't known for being great when it first started. It took years
Right.
of refining it, and that's just like anything else. Like Jeff Keighley does an amazing job of refining things. You look at the Game Awards and where it started and where it is now. It's just like it's really grown and he's really refined it. I can't wait to see what he does this year with Summer Game Fest, but
Oh yeah.
we'll see how that all goes. But I do like E3. I hope it doesn't die, but at the same time, I won't be surprised.
Yeah. I just like everyone talking about games at the same time of the year and everyone is watching. I don't know, something about that it gets me excited.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And especially when you get those splashes, it's just like, oh wow, like in the conversation that
Mhm.
generates, and like you do get a great sense of community in games. Like the
Oh
gaming
yeah.
community has its issues for sure, but at a time like this, it's almost like Christmas. Sure, we're not
Oh yeah.
actually getting anything, we're not actually going to play games, but it's still exciting to being like, oh, X company is announcing this thing, or hey, this game
Yeah.
we already know about, we're getting a new trailer for, whatever it is. Like I always remember when Bethesda was like, hey, Fallout 4 is a thing and it's coming this year in just a couple months. And you go, what?
Oh
Really?
yeah, that's always surprising.
Like that was like one of the greatest moments ever. And like stuff like that though, you just can't beat. Like all the
No.
issues people have with E3, but like when you get to like those moments though that are just jaw dropping and really exciting, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
I remember very vividly watching Sony's last E3. It was just so cool. The Last of Us Part 2, where they got everyone in the thing and you're just waiting. You're like, I have no idea what they're going to show for this game. And it's Ellie and then the gameplay. I
It was
just,
so
I want to
elaborate
go there.
too, because they took people from like
Oh
I think it was
yeah.
like what 2 or 3 different like buildings or tents or whatever
I
that they
remember
had
the
set up.
memes and
Yeah,
everyone making fun of that one guy who was doing the flute for Ghost of Tsushima. I was enjoying that part. I
it
felt bad.
it was very enjoyable. It went on a little long, I will say though. It was just
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think that was the big thing. It was like the whole press conference was dragged a little bit, because they had to then be
Yeah.
like, all right, we showed this game. Now everyone get up and let's move to another like
Yeah.
area. And then it's like, what's going on? Like the Last of Us one, they kind of made the scenery a little bit similar
Yeah.
to
It
the.
makes sense after you watch the actual
Yeah, you
trailer.
go, oh, I'm like inside this like
Yeah.
this place where Ellie was at and stuff like that. It is so elaborate and stuff like that. Or if you look at like just seeing like just the normal like stage, and then like like Phil Spencer or whoever comes out and they have the giant screens showing stuff
Oh
like
yeah.
that, and it's like so elaborate and looks so cool. Like visually, it's just like it's so stunning. We're definitely not going to get anything like
No.
visually that cool, and
I mean,
it's a nice
Nintendo Directs
touch.
now, they're pre-done. They're not even
Yeah.
live anymore. But that still gets me excited. 2 years ago, I was bawling in my chair because I was watching Animal Crossing get shown, and that's what I remember. And then just like a few minutes later, they like revealed Breath of the Wild 2, and I didn't know what to think. And that's the moments I remember, just getting like really overwhelmed
Yeah.
by all the news.
Yeah, and regardless of how E3 goes or any of these other events, I'm just excited. We're just, we're getting so much
Yeah.
news and so many reveals and stuff like that. And I don't know about you, but I definitely have some thoughts on what we might see and might not see for
Mhm.
E3. So I was thinking maybe we'll just go back and forth of you give a prediction, I'll give a prediction, and then we kind of
Okay.
dissect them and talk about them
I
and
I
stuff
kind
like
of
that.
put mine in like different groups, just like for like Nintendo, and then
Oh
but
yeah, however you
we'll
want to do it. Yeah, sure. But I'll
okay.
let you take the floor. Give me your whatever prediction you want to hand out.
Okay, I'm gonna start with my Nintendo one because that's the one I'm more confident about.
Okay, go for it.
Tomodachi Life 2. I will never stop talking about it. It's going to be shown because they did Miitopia, and that is one step closer to Tomodachi Life 2. So I'm putting it out there.
I don't
I
know that one.
definitely
You know me,
well
I'm
you don't,
not a Nintendo guy, so
I
can
know,
you
I know.
explain that one for me?
It was a 3DS game,
Okay.
and you have all your Miis. It was about the Miis, and you live on an island. And it was a quirky, it was only in Japan for a bit, and then they translated it and brought it to the West. And I was so happy when that happened because I would watch people on YouTube play the Japanese one. And it's just so quirky, and you raise these Miis and they have relationships and they go to work, and you could make them sing, and it sounds so stupid, but I got so invested in my Mii's lives, and they would have children and then they'd be so ugly and then you'd kick them out of the house. And
It's
so
like
I just
Sims
feel
almost, right?
it is a Sims but for your Mii's, and there's so much Nintendo charm to it, and I think it's so underrated that now that they did another Miitopia, I think they're most definitely thinking about doing a Tomodachi Life 2 on the Switch. So that's a silly one, but I most definitely think they're going to do some kind of trailer for Breath of the Wild 2.
I agree.
It's
I
it's
100%
been
agree.
too long, and they did say in the last direct they're like, sorry, we don't have anything to show right now. So that clearly means we should be getting I just want them to even mention it at
I
least
think they even said this direct is going to have a bunch of stuff that's coming this year.
this year. Maybe not this year, they said too. So I'm like
Yeah.
holding out.
And when was the last time we saw Breath of the Wild 2? That was 2019, right?
That was the 2019 E3.
Yeah,
That's
okay. That's
the
what
only
that my
footage
memory
we ever
serves right,
got.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think yeah, I 100% agree. Like it's been what Breath of the Wild 1 came out 2017.
17,
Okay, so it's been a good bit. I
like 4 years.
COVID what
Yeah,
COVID did it probably did push back development on that game,
yeah,
but I think at the very least we'll at least see something, even if no one comes out and goes, "Okay, you saw this trailer. Now let me talk about it." Like maybe it's not
yeah.
like a full presentation, but
Mhm,
it's like, "Hey, we know you want Breath of the Wild too.
mhm.
Here's a little taste." Just like maybe it's just like a
Yeah.
little trailer or something like that. Do you think it'll be like a cinematic trailer? Do you think it'll be like a gameplay trailer? Like what do you think we'll actually see if we see something?
Gameplay, I'm a little less confident about. I
Hmm.
feel like gameplay comes when there's a release date as well. maybe in mind. So I'm gonna say just a cinematic, and then they may just go 2022 or something. They
Yeah,
might
like a
just put
very
like a
broad
year.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you on that one. I think that's totally plausible. I was also thinking about that prediction also.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it
I
has to be.
know game development takes so long,
Yeah.
and I respect that, but at the same time, I think they were saying they want to remake or use a lot of the first game's map. So at the same time, they have so many assets already to work with. It's like
Yeah.
the same engine, and I think it's
I
going to
think
be easier to
regardless they'll
get
use
this
the
game
same
out.
assets, even if it's a completely different map. I think
Yeah.
they'll still use a
Oh
lot of the
yeah.
same assets. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I think it's coming out soon. I'll say that. And then
Good
my
take.
other one was it's Bayonetta 3, right? Because I don't play those games, but I know that
Ooh.
was teased a long time ago. And then, so maybe we'll get just a teaser or something saying they're working on it. Because didn't they? Well, no, that was Metroid that they said they scrapped development.
Yeah,
Maybe
they
that too.
restarted that. Yeah, and there
Yeah,
hasn't
I
been
mean,
anything on
mm,
Bayonetta 3 since 2017 or
oh
2018. I
my
just
God.
looked it up.
Okay, let's get a Bayonetta for those fans here because
Oh
I
wait,
feel bad.
okay, so I have an IGN article, actually, Jordan Serrani. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And this was
Okay.
published January 29th of this year, Annika. And
Okay.
yeah, like one of the heads of the development team over there said that there was, I guess it's an interview from VGC that IGN reported, but yeah, they
Mm-hmm.
said we will hear an update on Bayonetta 3 this year. That could be
Oh,
E3, it could
okay.
be otherwise, but hey,
I'm
you're right
very
on the money
confident
there.
in my prediction then. Okay.
Sweet.
And so if they're gonna do that, I don't know if they're gonna talk about Metroid because I know they scrapped development. Who knows what they have? Maybe they'll just mention it and say we're still working on it.
I'm gonna say it right
But
here though. We're not gonna hear anything about Metroid.
okay.
I would be shocked. I think that game is gonna be like,
Way
I think
out.
it's gonna come out eventually. It's not gonna be like necessarily
Probably when the Switch Pro comes out. That's how
yeah.
far out.
I think the Switch Pro is gonna come out this year. I'm gonna say it right
Really?
here. I
This
think
this
it's
holiday?
yeah, I think so. I think
Okay.
Nintendo's gonna make it a confirmed thing. Like, yes, Switch Pro, it is real and it's coming X date. You know, like November or October, somewhere in there. That's what I think.
Yeah.
The only
Okay.
if it's not this year, it's probably because of COVID. And I know there's like a lot of
Yeah.
like manufacturing of consoles is rough right now. But I think regardless of that, though, I'm gonna call it though. Switch Pro announced
Damn, I
and
was about to say that.
coming this fall. I guarantee it.
Okay. I think it will be, maybe it will be mentioned at the E3 because that would be pretty big. And I've always said there, as soon as the Lite was announced, I'm like, they're gonna do a Pro. This is what they've been doing since the DS.
Oh yeah,
So
they love being
yeah,
like, all right, here's your console, and now here's the
but
next
bigger
iteration, and
and
now
here's
here's the next, and
smaller.
then they just keep going. You know.
Yeah, they're gonna milk the Switch for a while, which
Oh
is fine. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah. I don't blame them. It's a fantastic console. Yeah, I don't own it
Yeah.
one, but like I totally, I've played it and it's fantastic. It truly is like I think Nintendo's
Mm.
best console. It's a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm. So is it too early for another Mario game reveal? Because I put that down,
What's
but
the last one?
Odyssey. Well,
Okay.
they did Mario World, but that's like Bowser's Fury was an add-on.
Yeah.
So what team? I don't know what team's working on the next Mario game. But maybe they'll show.
Well, Odyssey
That's
came out
not
in
confident though.
2017. I think it's been long enough that we might see
Yeah.
something.
Okay. I'm still iffy about that, but I'm still writing it down. But the one thing that I'm a little more confident about that maybe they'll do like a Animal Crossing New Horizons update. I just want a big update where they bring a bunch of stuff people have been asking for because we've basically been getting repeat holidays where you just go walk around the museum and put stickers down and it's stupid. And now I'm like, okay, well, what about all these other characters that we've been missing? I just hope they mention it. That's my
So you
last
want like new
Nintendo prediction.
characters? Is that what you want?
Yeah, I just feel like they need a big summer update or just a big two 2.0 update because they haven't done that yet. It's been a whole year now
Yeah,
since
it's
it's
just
been
like the
out.
seasonal little like events and stuff like that,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
it's just been 2.
Here's new
The
fish or
same.
bugs or whatever, and call it a
Yeah,
day.
they're missing a lot from the older games, and I just
Mm.
hope where every Animal Crossing fan is basically wanting Brewster, who makes coffee. That's all. We're weird fans, but we want it to happen.
Hey, that's cool. Hey, you gotta get your stuff. You know, I don't blame you
Yep.
there. Is that it for your Nintendo predictions?
Yes.
Okay. I'll give you. I'll because you gave a few. I'll give you a few of mine. Uh, so Ubisoft will not show anything on Skull and Bones. We're not going to get anything on
Oh,
that game. I'm
it's
sorry,
such an.
Annika. I'm just gonna
I don't
break
even
it to you.
care about it. I just saw it one year and then they never mentioned it
Yeah, you just want
again.
something because it's like, is it dead? What's the deal? Because I know they
Yeah.
scrapped like
I
a
like
lot of
pirate
work
games,
on it
but I
and
don't
kind of
know if
restarted it. Yeah, yeah, they're not gonna show it. Like I would be shocked if they actually do. And I think that game is in the vein of Metroid 4, where we're just not gonna see it
Mm,
for a long time. And then
okay.
also I'm gonna give one more, and then we'll go back to you. We'll see a trailer, at least an announcement trailer. I don't know if we'll get any more info, but I'm gonna say we'll at least get a trailer for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2. I think we'll get
Oh,
something
I
on
want
that.
that. At the what is it? I guess that would be EA Play.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, I
A bit
truly
later
think,
into the month, sadly.
I truly believe we'll see something on it. We'll hear
Oh,
something
I
about
hope.
Jedi Fallen Order 2. Uh,
I think it'll be
um,
called Jedi and then something something. That seems what they want to do, but
yeah,
no matter.
I think so. I think that would make sense. But whatever they end up calling it, you know, Fallen Order 2, whatever.
Still gonna be Cal, you think? Cal
Yeah, I
Kestis?
think so. I hope
Okay.
so. I think it would be cool
Yeah,
to
yeah.
continue that character's journey and like take him in new directions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure what, but you know, if they have a story for him and that's serviceable, then sure. But I absolutely think though we will get something for that game, and that's all I want. Because honestly, the rest of the Star Wars games that EA's come out with, I've not cared about
Mhm.
whatsoever. I hear
Me
Squadrons
neither,
is
yeah.
really good, but it's not my thing
Oh yeah.
personally. Um,
I
but
did play Squadrons and I couldn't finish it because I'm stuck on this really difficult part, but it's actually really fun.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it looks
Yeah.
like a really great game, and I hear great things about it. I hear, especially on VR, it's
It's free
awesome.
right now, I think, PlayStation for the month, so.
Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think so. But Fallen Order 2, I'm just like I'm more of a single player
Oh
action
yeah,
adventure
yeah.
type guy, anyways. So
Oh yeah, I
stuff
don't
like
play that
Fallen Order
online
2.
anyway. I'd be
Yeah. So
crushed.
yeah. So fingers crossed, I'm right on that one.
Mhm.
But Annika,
I hope.
what other predictions do you got for me?
Okay, my next batch, we've got I think this is for the Xbox Bethesda, but I'm not an Xbox person. So I don't really have predictions for that. I think they're definitely gonna show like Halo Infinite and I don't know what else they're gonna do. I maybe some new stuff to combat
I
how
will say,
Sony is
I'll
doing
give
with single
one
player
that I think
games. Okay,
Xbox will
okay.
show. The next Hellblade game. I think they'll do
Yes,
that.
okay. That's definitely
I
gonna
think that
happen.
it's been way too long since we've gotten something like that. I played the first Hellblade this year
Mm-hmm.
actually, and I thought it was really
I
good.
did last year.
I thought the gameplay could use some refinement, but I thought the story and like the setting and all that stuff, like I thought there was a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things that they really nailed, and there's a lot of things that were not quite there, but could be like honed in a little bit to be
Yeah.
really the next step, you know. So I think they'll show that.
Yeah, I'm sad because I don't have an Xbox and I really liked the first one just because it's the message for mental illness and
Yeah,
the twists and I thought it for an indie game that is does not look indie game. It is
yeah,
beautiful.
I think double A games are like the future, you know,
Oh
like
yeah.
that. I think that's really proves of like what these indies can do, and it's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
what an impressive game.
Maybe they'll even give a release date because it seems Xbox is lacking with games right now.
Yeah, yeah. I think I don't think they'll give a release date for Hellblade. I think they'll
Okay,
give
yeah.
us, because they haven't shown too much. They only give us a teaser show. So I think they'll give
Mm-hmm.
us. I think they'll give us like a deep dive. I think they'll actually give us gameplay and maybe
Okay.
even like a cinematic thing. Like I think it'll be a full presentation for that game. That's gonna be my
Yeah.
prediction.
All right. Well, apart from Xbox, I think Bethesda is. We're definitely getting Starfield. They're
You
ready
beat
to
me
show
to
it.
it. I already had
I
that written on there, and yeah,
yeah.
we're synced
I think
up.
it's
We know what's going
obvious.
on. Yeah.
Like even the I think the teaser image had like Halo and then maybe a bit of Starfield. Like, and there's already been images leaked. I think they're ready to show. It's been like 2 years now since they were
Yeah, it's been a
last
couple
at.
of years
So
since they first showed it. Yeah.
and then the sad thing is like I'm excited for that, but again, don't have an Xbox and that's probably gonna be an exclusive. So I don't know if they're gonna show Elder Scrolls 6 because I know they announced it and that's far out. That's very far out.
No
But
way.
I would
There's no
just
way.
like I'm predicting they show one very tiny thing, or they just at least say the name Elder Scrolls 6. They just say we're working on it. That's all I want because I know they're working on it, but I just like them talking about it.
I think they'll also, at least on the Bethesda part, I think they'll also show the next Wolfenstein. I think they'll show something for
Okay.
that. I also think whatever its software is working on, I think we might see something because its software,
What
like
did they
they'll be
work
working on
on? I
multiple things at
recognize.
the same time, and they release stuff like pretty frequently, especially in the last couple of years with Doom, Rage 2, and
Oh,
Doom
okay,
Eternal all
right.
coming out
That's
like
where I
relatively the
recognize
same
them.
time frame, like within like a year, a couple of years apart, So I think it is possible that we might see something from id Software. I think that would be really
Hmm.
cool. But I think Machine Games, well, actually, Machine Games is working on that Indiana Jones game, so I don't know if we'll actually see
Hmm.
anything Wolfenstein related. But they might have been working on something as a side project or something like that,
Mm.
maybe. So you know what? I'm gonna stick to it. I'm gonna stick to my guns and say we'll still see something Wolfenstein related because I
Do you
feel like
play Wolfenstein or Doom?
I love
Either of
Doom.
those?
I thought
Okay.
Doom reboot and Doom Eternal are fantastic. The rebooted Wolfenstein franchise is almost great.
Mm.
I really liked every single game up until the last one, Youngblood.
I've
It was
heard.
it just I feel like it's missing some of the character and like some, well,
Hmm.
I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff that they just
The
missed the
co-op
mark
seemed
on.
unique. I like that, but that's all I heard
I
about it.
liked the main characters, like seeing BJ Blazkowicz's twin daughters and stuff like that, and their dynamic and stuff like that. That was all great, but there's just so much stuff. I'm like, it was so disappointing. I'm like, man, they
Okay,
really
yeah.
missed the mark on this game. So since they were on such a roll with the
Mm.
previous like 3 games that they had put out, and they just kind of missed the mark on that. So I hope they're able to kind of get back on track of for Wolfenstein for sure.
You think a third Doom is coming out then? They're
I
gonna
don't think they'll
show
show
it?
us anything this soon because they just wrapped Doom Eternal
Yeah.
DLC. So I
Right.
think it's going to be a little bit before we see that. I think if we see anything Doom related, it's going to be another 2 years.
DLC? Okay.
I think they're done with
Even they might even
DLC.
do. Yeah.
I think they said
Okay.
the 2 expansions they did were that was it. Um, but uh, but hey, if they showed Doom, I would be down with that. I love Doom.
Mhm.
What about anything else for Microsoft Bethesda you got for me?
No, that's it. I mean, they'll probably show like another trailer of Deathloop, which I'm very excited for, but I'm already sold on the game, so.
I'm so sold on it. Also, like it's one of my most anticipated games of the year.
Oh yeah.
Arcane's a phenomenal studio. We don't need
Mhm.
to see more Deathloop. Like we've seen so much that game. It's like it's almost kind of ridiculous at how much they've
Yeah,
shown.
cuz
And
it's
it's
been
like,
pushed so much that it probably
yeah,
would be out by now if COVID weren't here, but
yeah. It's like it's coming out in September. I actually hope they don't show anything because it's like
yeah,
we've
they
gotten
don't
like a
need that.
million trailers and gameplay and interviews and all that sort
Yeah.
of stuff. Like I just don't need it. I just no one needs it. Just
Yeah.
keep refining on the game and get it out in September and then I'll
Yeah.
play it then.
I'd rather them swap out that time for Elder Scrolls 6 trailer, even if it's just a they're filming a blade of grass.
you're
That's all I
really
want.
you're really
I'm
hoping
honing in
for
on
that.
this. This
I
game is not
appreciate
coming
it.
out for like 5 years from now, but you know what? I don't care. I'm putting it out there.
Hey, you guys shoot your shot.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe who knows. Um, I'll give you another couple, and then we'll get
Okay.
to your what else you have. So
Yeah.
I just missed Montreal, the people who did the rebooted Deus Ex games that came out a few years ago. They are reportedly gonna be working on a Guardians of the Galaxy game. And supposedly, by recent rumors, they'll be showing it at E3, and I think it's guaranteed. I think it's that game has been rumored for so long. I think that not only will they make it confirmed, like yes, we are making a Guardians of the Galaxy game.
I didn't even
I
know that
think
was
they'll
in
actually
the works.
I think they'll actually have something to show. It's remember
Oh,
in
I
the event
hope.
when the Avengers game was first announced, it was just a short teaser, and then we heard nothing for like 2 or 3 years. I think
Yeah.
this is going to be like an actual trailer. Whether they show gameplay or not, who knows? But I
And
think
this
we'll
is at the
get
Square Enix, right? The Eidos Montreal. They said like world premiere or something. You think it's gonna be
yeah.
that?
So I think we'll get like an official thing on the Guardians of the Galaxy game,
Okay.
and I think it will not be a games as a service like Avengers. I think
I
they
hope.
I hope they learned their mistake from that one. And
Wait, so is the people who made Avengers are also working on this or a different team?
no, this is a different team. This is Eidos Montreal.
Okay.
Crystal Dynamics did the Avengers game.
Right, yeah.
I think actually on Eidos Montreal did help on the Avengers game, but they did not they weren't like the main developers of it.
Okay.
But yeah, I think Guardians of the Galaxy we'll definitely get to see. And I'm a huge Marvel fan.
Oh yeah,
I
same.
tweet about it incessantly. For anyone who follows me, Anyka, you see constant things about it from me. And Guardians of the Galaxy, it's one of my favorites. I love it, and in the MCU, and I think a Guardians of the Galaxy game. I don't know how that would play out because you have like what, like five or
Multiple
six like
characters?
characters. So I don't
But I
know like
mean,
how that's gonna
really cool
work.
single player game that you could swap between them. That seems
Yeah.
cool.
So I don't know how they'll do it, but either way, I'm interested
Yeah.
to see how they manage it. I just don't want
They
it to be a
might do it
games
the same as the
service.
Avengers,
No,
like
don't
just
say
how
that.
like
Don't
no
say
no no
that.
no not for no microtransactions, but like you start adding more to your team and you can switch between them. I just hope it's like that, but like no multiplayer. I don't want to.
Maybe like I'll be
I
fine
didn't even
if it's
finish
like
that
if there's
game.
a co-op component to it, but not like
Yeah,
just the
I'd love
extent of
that.
Avengers. Just like
Yeah,
please,
so you
God
could like have
no.
some friends and one of you's Rocket, another Gamora. Like I could see that. That's fine. I just they probably learned from their
I hope they
friends'
learn.
mistakes.
God, I
Yeah.
hope so. But anyways, let's go to what else you got for me?
Okay, we're sticking with Square Enix because these are my last predictions.
Okay.
I'm very unsure about this because it's just my bias wanting this, but I would love a Final Fantasy VII Remake to mention or trailer. And I know they're working and focusing on integrate that, right? But they've already shown a lot of it and it's already coming out soon. So I feel like we deserve even like whatever they're working on. That would be cool. But God, I don't even know how long that game's gonna take. It took so long just for Final Fantasy Remake, the first part, to come out. But because they already have all the assets and the ideas, and they've probably been working on it in the background while doing the first part, they could show something.
I think it's like when you do stuff like that, like whether it's episodic or like you're breaking something into parts, you need them to come out like relatively close. Like you can't
Oh
have
yeah,
too much distance. That was the problem with the Telltale games is episode
yeah,
one of X game, of Walking Dead or Wolf Among Us or whatever would come
yeah,
out, and then you'd be waiting, go, well, when am I going to get episode two? And I feel like this is almost the
yeah.
same sort of thing. Obviously, it's a much bigger scale,
Mm,
much more ambitious thing, but I do think they will. I think they'll show something. Yeah, I think so, and I hopefully maybe even a release date because people are dying for that, and
oh yeah,
I think you need to keep the I don't necessarily think they need the momentum to keep going, but I do think it will greatly help them, especially
yeah,
for the newcomers who got in, were shocked that they even liked the game, and so
yeah.
I think,
They definitely kept it the momentum with Integrate. Like I wasn't expecting that to be shown. I forget
mhm.
where it was, like one of PlayStation's conferences, and I was like, oh my god, is this part two? And it wasn't, but I was like, oh, they're adding on to this one, and
Yeah,
maybe on whatever if the when the Integrate releases and they have that DLC stuff. I mean, maybe at the end of the extra content, they'll like tease the next game. I don't know how they do that kind of thing, but
hmm
it'll be exciting.
yeah, for sure. So I have one last prediction. that I'll get
Okay.
into, and then we'll get into whatever else you have. So there's a rumor that NetherRealm, the makers of Mortal Kombat and Injustice, are making a Marvel fighting game, and I think we'll see that. I think because WB Games is having its own whole thing and whatnot, and I think they'll show that, and I would
Wait,
love
so
that.
WB, you think like Marvel versus like DC? Are they allowed to do that?
I don't know. Maybe if they struck a
Hmm.
deal with Marvel, they could have. But I think at the very least, I think it will. I think it will just be a straight up Marvel game, Marvel fighting game, and not have DC.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
they'll pull like what they did with Injustice and have some sort of
Yeah, okay. That I'm
sort
good
of
with
thing.
that.
Yeah. I also think it won't be like. I think it'll be in the same vein as Injustice, where it's not like brutal like Mortal Kombat. I think it'll be like a rated like T type of game.
Mhm.
I don't think Marvel wants to get into like really brutal, violent rated M
Yeah, they
games.
already have Marvel versus Capcom and that's not very brutal.
Yeah, but also I think they would want it to stand out from that. So I think going to NetherRealm makes a lot of sense, and I think that would be really cool.
I'm
And
good with
I'm
that.
not the biggest fighting game fan, but I do like NetherRealm's take on it. I think they're the kings and queens of fighting games, and so I think that'd be super cool. And I love Marvel, so hey, give me
They did
Guardians and give
NetherRealm
me
did
this.
Mortal Kombat, you said?
Yeah,
Or
they're the creators of Mortal Kombat.
Injustice?
Both. They've done both.
Okay, yeah, because I can tell I've played some of both. I'm like, these are very similar. Makes sense.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hope they will do it then. I
I think that would
hope.
be really cool. I also think we'll see more on that Batman game that they were doing. Um,
Uh, what
what
Batman
was it?
game? I'm
What was
already
that game? What was
forgetting.
that one? In the that they showed like what was it like what 2019? Arkham
Was that a
Knights,
VR? Oh,
Gotham Knights. Like
oh, Gotham. Oh, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Okay.
I just couldn't. It's like
They're gonna show that, but I
I
don't think
think
they're
that.
gonna do Suicide Squad. That's a
Oh,
different.
you think Suicide Squad? Oh,
No, I don't
oh, you
think.
don't
I
think
think
gods?
because
Okay.
that's seems farther out, but I think they're gonna show Gotham Knights.
Yeah, I think so too. I believe the Suicide Squad game was I think they even said that it's like in early development,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um
it's
but
definitely coming after Gotham Knights. But
yeah, I also think we'll see something on maybe we'll see something on Hogwarts maybe. Hogwarts
oh,
Legacy.
please.
Um
Yes.
but we'll see. Actually, you know what? Oh, so you know what? I remember there was some WB news and I couldn't remember that. So actually, the Warner Bros. Interactive actually confirmed that Gotham Knights, Hogwarts Legacy, and Suicide Squad will not be showing at E3. Actually, so never mind. Actually, I take all that back.
Oh, now I'm sad.
Yeah,
Not even Hogwarts Legacy. When was that? When will that come out then?
I have no idea. I think it
Uh,
got. I think that game got delayed. Actually,
oh, probably. Well, let's just hope for a 2022 then. And if they're not showing Gotham Knights, that's a bit surprising. What will they be showing?
uh, well, definitely, I think the NetherRealm game I think will be one thing.
Okay.
I don't know what
Yeah.
else that they have lined up that we'll see, but I definitely think I think whatever NetherRealm was cooking up with Marvel, and it's been a little bit since Mortal Kombat 11.
Oh yeah.
They've done like the DLC and stuff like that for Mortal Kombat 11, but that game came out a couple years ago, in 2019, like early 2019. So I
Yeah.
think, and I think NetherRealm they do a pretty good job of coming out with games pretty frequently. It's not like you have to wait like a huge delay between games and stuff like that. Like Injustice 2 was 2017, and then 2019 was Mortal Kombat, and 2015 was Mortal
Mhm.
Kombat X. So they come out with games like every couple of years.
It's
So I
definitely
think
due time.
yeah, so I think it's about time we'll see something. I don't think we'll necessarily get a release date this year because of COVID and everything. I think probably delayed
Okay,
whatever
yeah.
they worked on, but I definitely think we will be getting something like at least a confirmation and maybe a trailer, maybe even Ed Boon or someone will come up and be like, "Hey, this is the game we're making, and let's give you some details on it and stuff like that." So I think we'll definitely get something at the very least for that.
All right, I got one more.
Okay, cool.
And This one is iffy because Square Enix seems like they already have like all their ideas in place. We're showing this, this, and this. Don't think about anything else. But it's been a while since they've shown anything about Final Fantasy 16. And maybe having two different Final Fantasies predictions is not good, but I'm putting them both out there.
Ed, yay. I'm not judging. You do you.
No, why not?
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I
think that'll be
became kind of a
interesting.
Final Fantasy fan after playing 15 and then playing 7. So now I'm really into what they have next.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think it's a possibility. I don't really follow Final Fantasy. I definitely think your prediction on part 2 for the remake, I think that is 100% on the
Okay, I
money.
hope.
I think they'll have to show that, you know.
They showed 16 at that one PlayStation event that they had where they revealed a bunch of their stuff, and that was
Mm.
it. And they didn't really show a date. And I think it's being made by some of the people who are doing like 14, which is that online one.
Mm.
Which is interesting. It's not going to be online, I don't think, but uh I don't know. It's been a while since 15, so
Yeah, and
I'm
16 was
ready.
the reveal trailer was September of last year. So
Yeah,
um,
it's been quite a bit.
I don't know. We might see something, but I'm very doubtful of 16 just because
Yeah,
it's still a little fresh.
that's why.
But yeah, part 2 of the remake, 100%. I think
Yeah,
you're
I'm
on
more
the money.
confident about that. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see like what we're right and wrong about. I
I
can't wait
know.
to get disappointed with some of these things, but hopefully, if I'm right on at least a couple things, I'll be satisfied. You know, but
Yeah.
we'll have to wait and see in just a few days, and we'll talk about next week for sure on the podcast. But thank you, Annika, for talking to me. It was a blast getting all hyped up for
I
E3 and
know.
all these announcements. It's gonna be exciting times,
We'll know
and
by next week.
I know it's gonna come really quickly, and I can't
Oh
wait.
yeah.
But that was the KeenGamer podcast. People can check that out wherever you get your podcasts on audio services, and we're on YouTube at youtube.com/KeenGamer. We'll see you guys next time. We come out every Thursday. Thank you, guys.